hi, hello, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Auntie Sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I'm going to half-price books, so I wanted to show you guys the things that I will be selling to the bookstore today. These are books that I've had on my shelves for quite a while and have been meaning to donate or sell, and now I finally have the opportunity to do so. I have the time to do it. So these are the books I will be unhauling. Some of them are books actually from last year that I wanted to unhaul, but never got the opportunity to, primarily because pandemic, I wasn't able to donate and I didn't know where else I could unhaul these books. And now I know that I have a half-price books near me and I can unhaul them there, so I will be doing that. Oh, also fair warning, as always, you guys should know the drill by now. If you hear any animal sounds, barking, whistling, beeping, so on, those are the animals that I live with and I have no control over them and the sounds that they make. So anyway, onwards we go. First we have Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. I really liked this. No, I didn't, that's a lie. I liked this book, but not enough to keep it. I like Zoraida Cordova's writing, however this was just not it for me, and so this is definitely one that I didn't care about reading the sequel, couldn't remember enough about the first one to read the sequel, and once that kind of realization dawned on me, it was like, okay, this can go. Next, we have Ink in the Blood by Kim Smejkal. This is a Book of the Month book. It was one of my first Book of the Month books. I no longer receive Book of the Month. The reason that I'm unhauling this is because I couldn't tell you what happened in these books other than tattoo magic. I don't really remember what happened, and since then I've found other books that I appreciated more that have kind of the tattoo magic vibe rather than this one. This one, it just wanted to be more than it was, and the story was a little bit too all over the place for me, and even in the next book nothing ever really ties itself together, and I didn't find myself personally looking to buy the sequel. I also hate having Book of the Month editions, so some of these are books I'm getting rid of just because I don't like having Book of the Month editions, and I just don't want to keep them, so this is one of those. Next, we have The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. This is because they sent me the wrong book. I had ordered this in hardback so that I could, you can just barely see them up there, so that I could put the new book covers that I have on them. However, this was not obviously this is not hardcover, so I couldn't put the cover on it. They did give me a refund and everything, which is great. I think I actually did end up buying it from a half-price books. No, it was just from a different used bookstore. I will be selling this to half-price books because I don't need two copies of the same book, and I personally don't really love having paperback books. Next, we have Hunted, a House of Night novel. I don't know how this ended up in my personal library at home. I know I grabbed it from my parents' house out of the stack of books that definitely belonged to me in high school. If you've watched my House of Night reread video, you'll probably be able to guess why I'm getting rid of this book. Next, we have Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. You guys, I think this was in my 2020 unhaul. I never got around to unhauling it. There's no, like, direct reason. When I am curating my library and curating my space, I understand that I don't super love poetry-based writing, verse-based writing. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite storyline, and this falls into that category as well. I thought it was a beautiful book, but it's just not one that I personally want to own, and it's definitely not one I'll ever reread, so I will be selling it today. Hummingbird Salamander by Jeff Vandermeer. I got this book because I attended the 2021 San Antonio Book Festival. I apparently have it upside down in here. It is signed. Jeff Vandermeer writes some really interesting sci-fi horror. A lot of it is just kind of hard to follow though, and this is no exception to that consensus. It's no exception to that criticism. It's all over the place, and while I like nonsensical books, this one isn't satisfying enough in the end to validate the sensibleness of it. Like I said, just got it because I attended the book festival and paid for a ticket because I wanted to support local San Antonio bookstores, so that's my reason behind owning it. I still read it because I bought it, but it's just definitely not something that I'm going to be keeping and not something I care to have. Then, ooh, then we have The Guinevere Deception and The Camelot Betrayal by Kirsten White. I will be eating both of these books. One of them is a signed edition from Owl Crate. It is the special Owl Crate edition. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, these books are beautiful. The first book was absolutely amazing. However, I am a completionist and do not like to keep unfinished series if I do not plan on keeping the last 2 books. That seems silly to me. So I will be getting rid of these because I have no intention of buying the 3rd book, and because this series went downhill so incredibly quickly that the last book made it to one of my worst books of the year, I'm pretty sure, for 2021. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure. And Moving Me, who went through and stamped all of the books that I knew I was for sure going to keep, didn't stamp these books, which I think really says that Past Me was like, I'm gonna give the 3rd book a go, and if it doesn't get any better, they're out of here. So because I didn't stamp these books, they're out of here. I'm done with this. I don't like the queer baiting, and I didn't like the lack of character development and how our main character, Guinevere, just kind of like, I don't know where she went, but she wasn't in that 3rd book. So those books are going. Then we have The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. I am primarily getting rid of this because it is a Book of the Month book. I got it, though, because of the movie that was supposed to come out. I don't know if it ever came out, did it? It did. I remember watching the movie. I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed this author. The book was fine. The only reason that I am unhauling it is because it is a Book of the Month edition, and because I can't see myself rereading it at any point. It's really hard for me to keep my hands on thrillers just because a lot of the time, if I already know the twists, it's just not worth me reading again. There are exceptions. I have thrillers on bookshelves above me that I have reread. I enjoyed reading them again. They were a lot of fun for me, but this is not one of them. I feel like adult thrillers as a whole often are not enjoyable to read again. Next, we have, oh, and this is the last one, so that works out. All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. This is the first book in, I believe, a duology, maybe a trilogy. I don't even remember. So I read this. Nope, I remember what this book's about. I read this, and then I read the sequel. And the sequel was just okay. And because the sequel was just okay, I knew I had no intentions of buying it, which means the first book needs to go. Also, it's a Book of the Month edition, which means I would not have even been able to get the 2nd book in a matching edition, especially because I don't have Book of the Month and I don't support Book of the Month that much. I find some of their business tactics. Anyway, I'm not getting into that. So I just, a lot of the time I feel like sequels are just so disappointing that it takes away from the first book, and this was one of those cases where it was just not nearly as enjoyable as the first book, and the first book wasn't, while Past Me may have rated it really highly, if I'm thinking about it now in the way that I review books and I like to review books, this book is just not worth keeping for me. It wasn't something that I super enjoyed. And the 2nd book really diminished it down to romance over fantasy rather than fantasy over romance. And if you guys have been watching my videos for a while, you know that I prefer fantasy over romance. And if a book has primarily fantasy and not romance, then I'm a happy camper. So that is kind of a rundown of the books that I will be unhauling. I do have a bookshelf of books at my parents' house that I do need to unhaul, so I will be going there today and probably grabbing those books so that I can sell them at half-price books later on. But that is my current intention, is to head on over there, sell these books, and call it a day. I want to make it very clear that I try to only unhaul books that I've definitely read. I don't buy books without the intention of reading them, and even if they're gifted to me and I'm not 100% sure about them, I make sure that I read them. So I think that that's really important, to make sure that we're not encouraging irresponsible consumerism, and that is a huge part of why I do things like the Readathon and that kind of thing. I want to make sure that we are clear about those of us who are book collectors and those of us who are book readers, and how those are totally acceptable things, but they are also different things, and how it's okay to have a massive library that you haven't read all of the books for, but it's not so great to be buying books in mass and then unhauling them in mass for the sake of content, and it kind of leads our viewers in a different leads our viewers astray, in my opinion. All of that is my opinion. I could be completely misinterpreting some of the content that people are making, and I am not pointing any fingers at anyone. I am just saying this as a community as a whole. It's something that I think that we sometimes have a problem with, is buying books in mass and not reading them and then unhauling them and making content. And I know that book hauls and unhauls, they do well on YouTube. I know that, but I still think that we could do our part and be a little bit more responsible in the way that we consume things. So this is me doing that part. I did try to donate these to the library, but I wasn't able to, so I will now be selling them. Anyway, that's it. I'm gonna go head on over and sell these. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. If you didn't like this video, I don't do them that often since I don't unhaul books that often. But if you didn't enjoy this video, let me know how I can make it a little bit better. I am appreciative of everyone who's here. Like I said, I'm just gonna pack this up and head on out. Thanks for watching the video. Comment down below if you've read any of these books, or if you would unhaul them, or what your thoughts are on book unhauls as a whole within the community. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd be really interested to hear. I'm gonna go. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves. I will see you again on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time and Thursday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time every single week. Thanks for coming by. Okay, thanks, bye.